Absolutely, and it's almost better than that because they have fewer competitors. Bear Stearns is gone, Lehman is gone, Merrill is a
Oh,
shadow of his
God.
former self. So you have the survivors, the Goldman Sachs, the Morgan Stanleys, the J.P. Morgan Chases, who are happier than ever. Okay, like pigs in you name it. Okay, and I've written about how because of this bailout, don't forget, one of the unstated benefits of all this, in addition to the fact that we as taxpayers are subsidizing these firms through our savings because we're getting nothing on our savings, and interest rates are being kept so low, which is the rocket fuel for Wall Street. So if their cost of goods sold, their biggest cost, which is money and capital, is free and without any competition, I mean, it's no surprise that Goldman Sachs is minting money. And as a result, Goldman Sachs' stock, just to pick one example, has gone from in the 50s, in the depths of the crisis, to now close to 200 again. So it's up 4 times. Lloyd Blankfein, the value of his stock has gone from about 150 million to 600 million. Why? In part because of the benefit that taxpayers provided. Has one of them had the decency to come forward and explain to the American people what happened here and why, what exactly their firms did to foment this crisis, to exacerbate this crisis? Has one of these CEOs come forward to say anything about that? No, not a word. We got a little bit of an apology yesterday from Blankfein, but where's John Mack? Where's Jamie Dimon? Where's Dick Fuld? Where's the people that I've written about in the Bear Stearns book? Why haven't they come forward to explain to the American people who've bailed them out so nicely to explain what happened here?
Bill, you have a unique perspective. You're a graduate of the Columbia School of Journalism. You spent 17 years on Wall Street with top firms. What's your prescription for the future? What should we do to prevent this kind of thing from happening again? And as you suggested earlier, it's already beginning to happen again.
Right. Well, I mean, first, I think that we need to have some sort of a bit of a bloodletting, metaphorically at least. And what I mean by that is that I think I do agree that I think it's time. I agree with myself, I guess. I think it's time for these guys to come and explain to the American people what happened here and why. Because I think if there's a couple of days hearing in front of Congress on this subject, it'll educate and inform, and it'll put people on the record for what happened and help us to prevent it from happening again. There's been no action, no even an inkling of that happening. Number two, I think, and probably even more important if you want to really change it, you have to go back to having these guys have skin in the game again. You have to go back, you're never going to make Goldman Sachs a private partnership again, but that culture, and they do it better than most, but that culture of having skin in the game is really important because that makes you very conscientious about the risks that you are taking, very aware of the risks you're taking. To go back to your metaphor about being a casino, if you go in playing with the house's money, who cares? You're just going to wing it. And that's what Wall Street is now. People just go in there and they wing it. And until they get their full net worth back on the line again, and I have some ideas for that, until they do that, you're going to have a repeat of this in short order.
And it infuriates the American public, I believe.
As it should.
That CEOs, not just on Wall Street, but whether the company does well or badly, they get huge bonuses and huge compensation. It's one thing to compensate a brilliant CEO who creates a new product and it prospers, but another thing just to take huge compensation and bonuses even though the company's tanking and the stock is tanking.
And that's what we've just seen on Wall Street. Basically, Wall Street takes risks with their creditors' money and with their shareholders' money. How about their own money? I mean, if you create a great product with your own money and create a great business with your own money, the sky's the limit. Take as much as you want.
And most Americans would support that.
Absolutely. But it seems un-American and completely unfair for you to take these huge risks with your shareholders' money and your creditors' money, lose money, billions, and still get millions of dollars in bonuses?
And then come to the American taxpayer for a multi-billion-dollar bailout.
Exactly.
It really is outrageous.
And then pay it back and claim like, we're just going to go on as if nothing had happened.
Well, ethics and values seem to be underlying a lot of the problems here, and we have to accept greed as part of human nature, and there's a place for Wall Street, as you pointed out, but to provide some skin in the game, as you suggested, and maybe a little bit more vigorous regulatory regime?
Well, first of all, I think there are a lot of good people on Wall Street, and they just want to do, a lot of them just are doing what they're rewarded to do. But I think the mores of Wall Street, the ethic of Wall Street, is so tilted in favor of greed and self-interest that until you change that, and that's not something that can be regulated away. That's part of human nature. Okay, I mean, there is definitely a Darwinian element to Wall Street that sometimes works for the good. I mean, a lot of new products are created, what I call the democratization of capital, that sending capital around the globe to wherever it's needed 24/7. Those are good things. But until you have more skin in the game, Wall Street has to really, if you want it to change, it has to do it itself. If you have regulations coming out of Washington, Wall Street's just going to figure out ways to evade them. That's why when they were private partnerships, they did have skin in the game. Wall Street was still a dangerous place, but you didn't see these blow-ups or these risks to the whole system that you have now with these huge firms that have their shareholders and their creditors' money to play with. It's an insane system, and as Rahm Emanuel said, the chief of staff to Barack Obama, you shouldn't waste a good crisis. Well, unfortunately, I think we're wasting this good crisis. We had a chance to reform the system, but with the Dow at close to 11,000 again, up from 6,500, there's no will anymore to do anything about it.
I know you're thinking of a third book following the book about Lazard, The Last Tycoons, which was also a bestseller, and most recently House of Cards. What's your thinking about your next book?
Well, thank you for asking, Art. I'm writing a book about Goldman Sachs and trying to show people how the firm got to be as successful as it is, how it makes money, because I think for most people it's completely opaque. It's a total black box. They don't understand it, and they're not very good at explaining it. And then trying to explain to people how Goldman Sachs came through this crisis, better than anybody else.
And they historically have been kind of the blue chip firm on Wall Street, the best.
Goldman Sachs, no matter where I worked, whether it was Lazard or Merrill Lynch or JP Morgan Chase, or even at Bear Stearns where I didn't work, but everybody compared themselves to Goldman Sachs. Everybody wanted to be like Goldman Sachs. They were the cream of the crop. And what's interesting is that everybody wanted to be like them, but nobody was willing to do the things that Goldman did to make itself special. And that's what I'm going to be exploring in the book. It's an extraordinary firm. It's an incredible reporting and writing challenge because they're not going out of their way to make it easy for me, and which is fine. I love that challenge, and I look forward to really explicating this firm and making sure everybody understands what makes it tick.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us here on In Conversation. And also, you're here at the Long Beach State campus to be our third annual Distinguished Speaker. And we very much look forward to your public remarks to the students and the faculty and staff of the university and to the entire Long Beach community. So
I look forward to that myself.
Thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for your important work in kind of explaining to so many of us that find it difficult to understand what went on, what really did go on, and equally importantly, what we might do in the future so we don't get into this mess again.
Thank you, Art.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us for tonight's In Conversation show. It's been a pleasure to host Mr. Cohan as part of the CSULB Distinguished Speaker Series. To all of our viewers, thank you so much for joining us.
Straight Talk has been brought to you by Southern California Edison, the Press Telegram, and Long Beach Magazine. And remember, Straight Talk is viewable worldwide 24/7 at straighttalktv.com.